Okay, so are you ready to get spooked?
Always up for a good scare, especially if it's well crafted.
Then buckle up, because today we're taking a deep dive into the Whispers in the Dark podcast, specifically their episode on the abandoned Hollowridge Apartments. Let me tell you, these guys know how to play with our deepest fears.
Yeah, they really do. What struck me is how they take that classic haunted house trope, which we've seen a million times, and then layer in these psychological elements that just get under your skin.
Right. It's not just about jump scares or things going bump in the night. It's about that creeping sense of unease, the feeling that something's not quite right.
Absolutely. They tap into that primal fear of the unknown, of being vulnerable in the dark. That's where the true horror lies.
So picture this. Our main character, Emma, is exploring these deserted apartments, armed with just a flashlight and a camera. I gotta say, I wouldn't be caught dead in a place like that.
No kidding. I mean, I love a good ghost story, but actually being in that situation, hard pass.
Right. And the podcast does such a brilliant job of putting you right there with Emma.
Yeah.
You can practically feel the heavy atmosphere inside the building, that eerie silence broken only by the creaking floorboards.
It's like they build this incredibly immersive soundscape that draws you into the story. You're not just listening, you're experiencing it.
Exactly. They describe the peeling wallpaper, the abandoned furniture, just frozen in time. There's even a family photo she finds, which is such a chilling detail, like a glimpse into the lives that were lived there before tragedy struck.
Those sensory details are so crucial. It's not just telling the story, it's creating an atmosphere, letting the listener co-create the experience in their own minds. That's what makes it truly terrifying.
You're so right. And just when you think it can't get any creepier, things start to happen. On the second floor, she hears a soft giggle, then catches a blurry figure on her camera.
Ugh, that's the worst. That feeling of being watched, of not being alone. They really nail that sense of dread.
As she keeps going, the temperature drops. It's like a cold hand gripping her heart. Then there are footsteps, echoing all around her.
And it's that slow, deliberate buildup of tension that's so effective. The silence itself becomes a source of fear. We're wired to anticipate danger, and this podcast really plays on that instinct.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
And then comes the disembodied whisper, warning her to leave. Okay, at that point, I'm out of there, no question. But Emma, brave or foolish, she keeps going.
I think it's that curiosity, right? That desire to uncover the truth, even if it means putting herself in danger. That's what makes her such a compelling character.
Yeah, you kind of admire her courage, even if it seems a little reckless.
Exactly. And it keeps you on the edge of your seat wondering, is she going to find what she's looking for? Or is this curiosity going to lead her to something truly terrifying?
And it does, in a way. She finds this perfectly preserved apartment, totally untouched by the fire that ravaged the rest of the building. Talk about chills. That kind of detail just throws you for a loop, makes you question what's real and what's not.
Right. It's like a glitch in the matrix. It makes you wonder, are we dealing with a typical haunting, or is there something more complex at play here? That subversion of expectations is what keeps you hooked.
Absolutely. And then comes the climax. Her camera starts glitching, capturing these shadowy figures, voices, all this freaky stuff. She manages to escape, but when she checks the footage, it's all gone, except for a single frame showing a face in the window. Goosebumps.
Oh man, that ending. I know some listeners might find it frustrating, the lack of resolution, but I think it's brilliant. The fear lingers, it takes root in your imagination.
I totally get that. It's like the story doesn't end when the podcast ends. You're left to fill in the blanks to imagine what happened next.
Exactly. And it plays on that fear of the unseen, the things that lurk just beyond our perception. That's what makes it truly haunting.
And just to really hammer it home, the podcast ends with this creepy little warning, like, keep your lights on and lock your doors. Come on, guys.
It's a brilliant way to break that fourth wall, to bring that fictional fear into the listener's reality, even if just for a moment.
Suddenly, your own house feels a little less safe.
Exactly.
So after this deep dive, I think it's safe to say Whispers in the Dark isn't just telling a ghost story. They're masters of using sound design, those well-placed silences, and psychological tension to tap into our deepest fears and leave us truly spooked.
Absolutely. This episode is a masterclass in how to use audio to evoke a visceral response and leave a lasting impression.
Makes you wonder, what would you do if you found yourself in Emma's shoes?
Yeah, what would it take for you to believe in the supernatural?
Ooh, that's a good question for our listeners to ponder. Until next time, sleep tight.
And keep the lights on.